Welcome back. I hope all is well. If you haven't been here before, my name is Matt. I'm a therapist and a group practice owner here in New York City. And today I want to talk to you about how to plan to start a business. If you're a therapist and looking to open a private practice or start a group practice, this video is definitely going to be really helpful for you. However, if you want to open any business, I think this video is also going to be helpful for you because today we're talking about laying the foundations to starting a business. And this is not going to be some motivational talk. This is going to be really practical. You see, when I was starting my private practice as well as my group practice, I actually created a workflow and a structure for the startup process. So we're going to go through my entire template and my workflow so that you can see how I went from not having a business to opening and running and starting a business. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to be set up well for starting your business. However, if you haven't done so already, please do go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit the thumbs up button on this video, but only if you want to. There is no pressure. So first things first, what do I mean when we're planning to start a business? Well, when you start a business, there's tons of steps involved, but it's not perfectly linear. You don't just do step 1 and then step 2 and then step 3 and check things off a box. Things get quite chaotic. You have to fill out all sorts of paperwork. You need to talk to different people. There's a lot of moving parts. And as you go through it, you have more and more questions that pop up. One question leads to another. And so many things can be forgotten and fall through the cracks. If we're just using loose pieces of paper or we put things in a note on our phone here, and then we have something in an email here, it can just make things really difficult. And we don't really want to start a business that way. We want to be as organized and as diligent as possible in the startup process. And we want to do that because we want to lay a good foundation for our business. If there's not a good foundation laid, things can fall apart pretty quickly, right? So if you don't answer the questions you need to answer, if you miss documents, or if you're just scattered and all over the place, the business might not start on a solid foundation. And if you build something on a shaky foundation, it can fall apart. We also want to build a solid foundation because it mitigates risk and it prevents unnecessary mistakes. You want to avoid as many mistakes as possible, although mistakes are inevitable, and you definitely want to mitigate risk where you can. And additionally, when we plan really well, we build up our confidence. And this is also really important when starting a business. Now, that being said, you're not going to be fully confident. Confidence comes as you go. But if we plan well, we can certainly improve our confidence as we start up. And this is a good thing. And this is a bonus thing. If we plan really well during the startup process and we put together some sort of system or workflow for the startup process, you can actually take that system and sell it either as a course or a product or even as a consultation service to other people who are going through the same thing that you did. And when I first started my private practice, my solo practice, that's exactly what I did. I actually was able to create a whole startup manual based off my own startup materials and workflow. I was able to transform it into a guide and then sell it as a digital product. I've also been able to consult with other therapists using the knowledge and skills and tools I gained as I went through the startup process. Now, this would not have been possible if I didn't have a solid workflow and a solid startup process. And today, that's what we're going to go through. And the first thing that we must do is pick a system where everything that we compile is going to live. Now, I've chosen Notion. I've talked about this in tons of other videos. I'll link it up here somewhere. I won't waste your time talking about Notion today. Essentially, what we're choosing is a place where all of your questions, materials, documents, conversations, notes, where everything can live and be stored. And so, yeah, there are tons and tons of different options out there, like Notes or Google Drive or whatever. There's tons. At the end of the day, though, you want to pick one that's flexible, meaning you can change it and adapt it as you change over time. You want to pick one that has different options for organization, like toggles and charts and that kind of thing. And you also want to choose one that you can access from anywhere. So if I put something into Notion on my computer, it then pops up on my phone. And that's really, really helpful because you want to be able to access this wherever you are. And so then this system right here, the system that you're going to have, this will be your home base. This is where you input everything. You also might want to have a system where you can store videos or link to podcasts because you want to put everything regarding the startup process into this system. Really, anything that you can think of that you do during the startup process, you want to be able to put into your system. That way it lives in one place. So pick a good system. So now what we're going to do is jump into the computer and I'm going to walk you through the system I used for starting my group practice. All right, let's go. Here we are in my group practice startup home base. This is the system I've been using. And again, this was created using Notion. So you'll see here I have different segments for the different parts of the startup process. And we will go through these systematically. However, just remember that when you're starting a group practice or any business for that matter, things don't happen linearly. They happen all over the place. But we'll go through in order just for the sake of the video. And you can see here, I put these all in toggles so I can clean it up and make it more organized. And just so you know, this is a mock version. There was personal information in the other one that not everyone needs to see, but it looks exactly the same. And the first thing I started with was a vision. So what did I want my group practice to be in the long run? I wanted to create a group practice that provides quality care to people in New York City. So to write down your vision is really helpful. Sometimes throughout the process, we can get confused or we can lose our vision because we run into different roadblocks. So having your vision written out that you can always refer back to is really helpful. And of course, this can change over time. And then what I did was created a to-do list and a done list. Now this was absolutely crucial. So if you click on the toggle, I don't have anything to do right now because my group practice has been started and it's up and running. But this used to be full, and it used to be full of what's now over here on the done list. And you can see I have tons and tons of things on here. So if there was anything I needed to do that I remembered, wherever I was, if I was out and about or anywhere, I would just simply put it in here. That way it comes out of my mind and is written down so I won't forget. And so when I first started, there were so many things I needed to do, things I needed to research, things I needed to fill out, things I needed to apply for, just a ton of stuff. And it would all live right here in this to-do list. And so then as I would complete things on this list, I would be able to simply take them and move them over and then click that satisfying checkbox so that I know it's done. And it's also important to keep a record of what you have done. You don't want to just delete things because then if someone says, hey, did you ever speak with that lawyer? I don't really know. Oh, you know what? I did. It's on my checklist. I did get that done. Right? So you want to keep things written down and documented, almost everything. This was a daily thing that I checked. All right. So to-do list and done list, also really important. Another important section would be for questions. You are going to have a ton of questions that come up. The first question you might ask is, how do I start a business? What I would do, I would write that down. I have an unanswered section. So I would say how to start a business, right? And so now we have that question here. And then maybe you're doing some research about how to start a business and you learn about tax IDs, how to get a tax ID. And now we have another question. And the thing about the questions is they keep coming and coming and coming. And as you answer one question, you have 10 more questions and the questions start getting overwhelming. So you need a place to write them down. You can't always answer every question on the fly. Sometimes you need to come back and set aside time to actually answer these questions. So very similar to the to-do list, I would write my questions down here. And as you can see, I have an unanswered section and an answered section. And if we untoggle the answered section, these are all the questions that I was asking, right? And this is just a few of them. And even more than just putting the questions down and writing them out, I would actually put the answers inside. So this question about how to hire employees, if you click that toggle, the answer is inside. So now I have the question and the answer all stored here. And when it's answered, you don't want that cluttering up your space. It's kind of done. You know about it now. You can hide it away and untoggle it or close it up in the toggle and it's there. So now I have those answers and I can always come back and reference them later. And the good news about this is a lot of people are asking the same questions I was asking. So if I do a consultation or I want to put together a guide, I have my resource right here. And next, I have a helpful resource section as well. And if you click inside of here, you're going to see I have section for podcasts, websites, and practice tools. And so basically, when I was doing my research about starting a business, I would listen to a lot of podcasts, I would read a lot of articles and watch a lot of videos, that kind of thing. And whenever I would come across a good one, I didn't want to forget, and I didn't want it just living in the favorites because that gets a little confusing. And I would come here and I would link it into my page here. Now, of course, Spotify is not linking right now, but as you can see, it just links just like this. And when this is working, it just works. You can just click play and then you can use it. Right, same thing for websites. I can come in here and then I have bookmarks. So I can read articles that I've referenced before. And this is a great resource. No more getting lost in the favorites, no more forgetting, no more having to Google to find it again. It all lives right here. And then my next section is documents. Now, one thing you're going to find out is that you have to fill out a lot of forms, applications, whether it be signatures. You just have to fill out a lot of different forms, especially when starting a business. And so what I would do is I would upload my forms into this section right here. If you click on this, you can see my I-9 and my W forms pop up just like this, and I can actually just download them right from here. And then the next section, we have meetings and calls. So one thing you're going to do is you're going to call and meet a lot of people in the startup process. As a therapist, I called insurance companies to figure out how to get paneled. I spoke to lawyers and accountants. I even spoke to brokers about insurance and things like that. And I documented every single call meticulously. On this thing here, you're going to see that I have a table, and I have who I called, when I called them, their email, their contact. Everything lives right here. And even more than that, now, I had a call with an insurance company called Health First to talk about what it would be like to accept their insurance. And I was able to open this up as a page and then write down my notes from the call. So this was really, really useful. And then I have this section for startup items and costs. When starting a business, you're going to find out that there's a lot of different things you have to pay for, whether it be applications for your business or even software that you need to pay for. There's all sorts of things, and you can easily lose track of it. And in here, I'm going to have a table that outlines everything that I need, how much it costs, how often I need to pay for it, whether it's required or not. This is just a really organized way to keep track of the startup costs and the items and things like that. And then finally, if you're looking to hire people, I also added a section for applicants. So when an applicant would come in, I would simply put their name in here, and I would put all the details about that applicant in this table right here as well, which then kept the applicants very, very organized. And this right here, it looks really simple when you just look at it from a bird's eye view, but you can tell in all of these toggles, there is so much information. And this was how I got my business started. And I do believe that this is a system that you can implement as well. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but if you implement this kind of system, I assure you your foundation for your business will be really, really strong. Now, a couple things you want to keep in mind is you want this to be flexible, right? So I'm not stuck with this. If I needed to add another section or needed to change a section around, I would do that. In fact, when I started my solo private practice, I started using Microsoft Word, but I found that got too chaotic. My group practice, I transferred over to Notion, and then it became a lot more organized. I had the toggles and the lists and the columns, that kind of thing. You don't want to be indebted to the software you're using, but rather you want to use the software that serves you best. And then additionally, you really want to be consistent. So when you come up with a workflow and a system for your startup process, really try to stick to it. Really put all of the meetings and calls inside, all the questions. It is a bit of a learning curve because if you haven't done this before, you're not used to it. And when we're not used to it, it's hard to get the habit started. But once you get in the habit of putting everything inside of this system, it's going to be really, really helpful for you. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you soon.